What if I told you that one of the most powerful muscle building foods after 60 isn't expensive, isn't trendy, and isn't eggs? In fact, it's sitting in kitchens around the world, costing just a fraction of typical high protein foods. Yet it activates the very biological systems that help your body repair, rebuild, and stay strong as you age. Today, we're talking about lentils, a humble food with extraordinary power to support muscle health, metabolism, and longevity. After the age of 60, the greatest threat to your strength is not time itself, but a silent biological shift happening deep inside your body, a state scientists call chronic low-grade inflammation, a condition so subtle you don't feel it, yet powerful enough to interfere with your muscles' ability to repair, rebuild, and respond to the food you eat. This is why many people increase protein, yet continue to lose strength, because the real problem is not supply, it is signaling. Your body is no longer hearing the message to regenerate. Research in aging biology shows that inflammatory molecules, such as cytokines, can block anabolic pathways like mTOR, the very mechanism responsible for turning nutrients into new muscle tissue. When this pathway is disrupted, muscle cells become resistant to growth signals, a phenomenon known as anabolic resistance, one of the primary drivers of sarcopenia. But here is where something remarkable happens. Certain foods don't just provide calories or protein, they actively calm this inflammatory noise and restore communication inside the body. Lentils are one of those foods. They are rich in polyphenols and bioactive compounds that have been shown to reduce oxidative stress and inflammatory signaling, helping shift the body from a state of breakdown into one of repair. This is not theoretical. Studies on plant-based polyphenols demonstrate their ability to modulate NF-κB, a key molecular switch that controls inflammation linked to aging and muscle loss. When this switch is dialed down, muscle stem cells, called satellite cells, become more responsive, more capable of activating and rebuilding damaged fibers. In other words, the body regains its ability to listen. Lentils also deliver these compounds in a slow digesting matrix of fiber and nutrients, meaning they create a sustained anti-inflammatory environment rather than a short metabolic spike. This steady internal climate is exactly what aging muscles need to recover their regenerative rhythm. According to the Food as Medicine framework advanced by William W. Lee, the goal is not simply to feed the body, but to activate its built-in defense systems, the same systems that control healing, metabolism, and tissue renewal. When you eat foods that support these pathways, you are not just preventing decline, you are biologically training your body to repair itself again. Imagine inflammation as static drowning out a conversation. Lentils help turn down that static so the message to rebuild can finally come through. Over time, this shift changes how muscles respond to every other healthy habit, from walking to resistance training, amplifying their benefits because the internal environment is no longer working against you. This is why the question after 60 is not, am I eating enough? But am I creating the conditions for my body to regenerate? And sometimes, the answer begins with one of the simplest foods humans have eaten for thousands of years, quietly restoring a conversation inside your biology that aging tried to silence. For decades, we were told that building muscle meant eating more animal protein, more eggs, more meat, more of everything. Yet millions of adults over 60 are doing exactly that and still watching their strength decline, because muscle building at this stage of life is no longer just about how much protein you consume. It's about how efficiently your body can process it without triggering metabolic stress. As we age, the body becomes less tolerant of large, dense protein loads, especially those accompanied by saturated fats, which can increase oxidative stress and interfere with mitochondrial function, the tiny energy factories inside muscle cells that determine whether tissue rebuilds or deteriorates. When mitochondria are strained, muscles don't grow. They conserve, they shrink, they protect rather than regenerate. Lentils offer a radically different biological message. They provide a substantial amount of plant-based protein, nearly 18 grams per cooked cup, but delivered in a package that includes fiber, phytonutrients, and slow-digesting carbohydrates that actually enhance metabolic efficiency instead of burdening it. This combination allows amino acids to be absorbed gradually, creating a sustained anabolic environment, exactly what aging muscle requires to overcome anabolic resistance. Scientific studies comparing plant-forward protein sources to heavy animal-based meals show improved insulin signaling, lower inflammatory markers, and better nitrogen utilization, meaning the body wastes less protein and uses more of it to repair tissue. In simple terms, more of what you eat actually reaches your muscles. This is critical after 60, when digestion, absorption, and cellular signaling naturally decline. Lentils also avoid the surge of lipotoxic byproducts that can occur when high amounts of saturated fat are metabolized, compounds that are linked to impaired muscle protein synthesis and reduced metabolic flexibility. Instead, their nutrient matrix supports steady glucose availability, ensuring that muscle cells have the energy required to incorporate amino acids into new fibers, a process that is extraordinarily energy dependent. Without that energy stability, even high protein intake cannot translate into strength. This is why populations with diets rich in legumes consistently show healthier aging trajectories, maintaining functional mobility far longer than societies dependent on processed or animal-heavy protein patterns. According to the research-driven philosophy of leading physician scientist Dr. William W. Lee, the goal is not to overwhelm the body with nutrients, but to deliver them in forms that activate biological systems of repair while minimizing collateral stress. Lentils do exactly that, acting less like a macronutrient and more like a metabolic ally, fueling muscle growth while simultaneously protecting the cellular machinery responsible for that growth. The result is a quieter, more efficient rebuilding process, one that works with the physiology of aging rather than fighting against it, proving that sometimes the most powerful way to build strength is not by eating more, but by eating smarter, allowing the body to do what it was designed to do all along: repair, renew, and remain strong. After the age of 60, one of the most overlooked reasons muscles weaken has nothing to do with aging itself and everything to do with blood sugar control, because every time your body loses its ability to manage glucose efficiently, it also loses its ability to protect muscle. This is the hidden connection scientists now call the muscle metabolism axis, where insulin is not just a blood sugar hormone, but a powerful signal that tells your muscles whether to store nutrients and grow or to break down and shrink. When insulin sensitivity declines, as it commonly does with age, that signal becomes distorted, and muscle cells stop responding properly, a condition known as insulin resistance, which research shows is strongly associated with accelerated muscle loss and reduced strength even in otherwise healthy adults. Imagine eating a meal meant to nourish your body, yet the nutrients never fully reach the tissue that needs them most. Instead, glucose lingers in the bloodstream, triggering inflammation and oxidative damage that further blocks muscle repair. This creates a vicious cycle where declining muscle worsens glucose control, and worsening glucose control accelerates muscle decline. Lentils interrupt this cycle in a profound way. Their unique structure of resistant starch and soluble fiber slows digestion, leading to a gradual release of glucose that prevents the dangerous spikes known to impair insulin signaling. Clinical nutrition studies demonstrate that meals centered on legumes produce significantly lower post-meal glucose and insulin responses compared to refined carbohydrates, allowing the body to regain metabolic balance. This steadiness is critical because muscle cells rely on stable energy availability to synthesize new proteins. Without it, they enter a conservation mode, prioritizing survival rather than regeneration. Lentils also nourish beneficial gut bacteria that produce compounds like butyrate, which researchers have linked to improved insulin sensitivity and reduced systemic inflammation, meaning the effects extend far beyond digestion into whole-body metabolic repair. Over time, this improved insulin responsiveness allows amino acids to be transported into muscle tissue more effectively, restoring the body's ability to actually use the protein you consume. This is why metabolic health is now considered one of the strongest predictors of physical independence later in life, more influential than total calorie intake alone. According to the science-driven approach championed by Dr. William W. Lee, foods that stabilize blood sugar are not merely managing diabetes risk, they are actively reprogramming the biological environment that determines how we age, how we heal, and how we maintain strength. When blood sugar swings are replaced by metabolic calm, muscles once again receive clear instructions to rebuild, mitochondria generate energy more efficiently, and the body shifts from a state of silent damage to one of steady renewal. In this light, lentils are not just a carbohydrate source. They are a metabolic tool helping restore the very signaling systems that decide whether the years ahead are marked by frailty or resilience, proving that controlling blood sugar may be one of the most powerful strategies we have to preserve muscle and vitality for decades to come. Inside your body right now lives a vast invisible ecosystem, trillions of microorganisms forming what scientists now recognize as one of the most powerful regulators of human health. And astonishingly, this inner world may determine whether your muscles stay strong or fade with age. For years, muscle loss after 60 was blamed solely on hormones or inactivity, but emerging research in microbiome science reveals a deeper story. The gut directly communicates with skeletal muscle through what is called the gut-muscle axis, a biochemical conversation that influences inflammation, nutrient absorption, energy production, and even how effectively your body responds to exercise. When the gut microbiome becomes imbalanced, something that commonly happens with aging, processed foods, and low-fiber diets, it produces fewer beneficial metabolites and more inflammatory compounds, creating a physiological environment that actively resists muscle repair. In this state, even if you consume adequate protein, the body struggles to break it down, absorb it efficiently, and deliver those amino acids where they are needed most. Lentils change this internal landscape dramatically because they are one of the richest natural sources of prebiotic fiber, a type of nourishment not for you directly, but for the beneficial bacteria that protect you. When these microbes ferment the fibers found in lentils, they produce short-chain fatty acids such as butyrate, compounds shown in studies to reduce systemic inflammation, enhance insulin sensitivity, and improve mitochondrial efficiency, all critical factors for maintaining muscle mass. These microbial metabolites act almost like signaling molecules, traveling through the bloodstream to influence how muscle cells generate energy and recover from stress. This means that every serving of lentils is not just feeding your body, it is cultivating a healthier internal ecosystem that supports regeneration at the cellular level. Research has shown that individuals with more diverse gut bacteria tend to have better muscle function, stronger grip strength, and lower levels of frailty as they age, suggesting that resilience is not only built in the gym, but also in the gut. Lentils also help restore microbial diversity, which naturally declines over time by providing resistant starches that beneficial species thrive on, allowing them to outcompete inflammatory strains that contribute to metabolic decline. This shift can improve how efficiently vitamins and minerals like magnesium, zinc, and B vitamins are synthesized and absorbed, nutrients essential for muscle contraction and repair. According to the food as medicine model described by Dr. William W. Lee, supporting the microbiome is one of the most effective ways to activate the body's innate defense and maintenance systems, because when the gut is nourished, multiple biological networks, immune, metabolic, and regenerative, begin working in harmony again. Over time, this harmony translates into better endurance, faster recovery, and muscles that respond more readily to movement and nutrition, illustrating a profound truth. Modern science is only beginning to understand. Strength is not built by muscle alone, but by the microscopic allies within us, and feeding them the right foods may be one of the most powerful strategies we have to remain strong, mobile, and independent well into later life. Muscle is not just built from protein, it is powered by an intricate network of minerals that act like electrical wiring inside your body. And after the age of 60, Deficiencies in these critical nutrients become one of the most silent yet devastating causes of weakness, fatigue, and physical decline. Every time a muscle contracts, it relies on magnesium to regulate energy production, iron to deliver oxygen, and potassium to maintain the delicate balance of fluids that allows cells to function. Yet research shows that a significant percentage of older adults consume far less of these minerals than their bodies require, creating a hidden state of malnourishment even when calories are sufficient. Without enough magnesium, the mitochondria inside muscle cells struggle to produce ATP, the molecule that fuels every movement you make, leading to early exhaustion and slower recovery, a phenomenon often mistaken for just getting older, but in reality, linked to measurable biochemical insufficiency. Iron plays an equally critical role because it forms hemoglobin, the carrier that transports oxygen through your bloodstream to working muscles, and when levels are inadequate, tissues are forced to operate in a low oxygen environment, accelerating muscle breakdown and reducing endurance. Potassium, often overlooked, helps transmit the electrical signals that tell muscles when to contract and relax, and imbalances can contribute to cramping, weakness, and impaired coordination, increasing the risk of falls that threaten independence later in life. Lentils uniquely address this triad of needs by delivering a dense concentration of these essential minerals in a form the body can absorb gradually and efficiently without the metabolic burden associated with heavily processed foods or excess sodium. Unlike supplements that isolate single nutrients, lentils provide a naturally balanced matrix where magnesium, iron, potassium, and plant compounds work together synergistically, enhancing bioavailability and supporting the enzymatic reactions required for muscle repair. Studies in nutritional science have demonstrated that whole food mineral sources are more effective at improving functional outcomes than isolated supplementation because they interact with fiber and phytonutrients that stabilize digestion and absorption. This means the body is not overwhelmed but steadily replenished, restoring the cellular environment muscles need to function optimally. Over time, this replenishment improves oxygen utilization, enhances energy metabolism, and reduces the fatigue that often discourages physical activity, creating a reinforcing cycle where better nutrition enables more movement, and more movement further strengthens muscle. According to the Science of Food as Medicine described by Dr. William W. Lee, the goal is to supply the body with the raw materials it requires to activate its natural repair systems, rather than forcing change through extremes, and mineral-rich foods like lentils serve as foundational tools in that process. What appears to be a simple, inexpensive ingredient is, in fact, delivering the microscopic elements that allow your muscles to generate power, sustain endurance, and recover from daily stress, reminding us that strength is not only about how much we lift, but about whether our cells are equipped with the resources they need to keep going, day after day, year after year. As we grow older, one of the most important predictors of strength is something most people have never heard of, a concept called metabolic flexibility, which is your body's ability to switch smoothly between burning carbohydrates and fats for energy. And when this ability is lost, the body becomes metabolically rigid, struggling to generate steady fuel for muscles, leading to fatigue, slower repair, and gradual muscle decline. In youth, this flexibility happens naturally. Your cells adapt instantly to what you eat or how you move. But with aging, chronic high-sugar diets, and low-fiber intake, the system begins to malfunction, locking the body into inefficient energy use that starves muscle tissue even when food is abundant. Scientists have linked this loss of flexibility to mitochondrial dysfunction, where the energy-producing structures inside cells become less responsive, producing more oxidative stress and less usable fuel, a combination that accelerates both weakness and aging. Lentils help retrain this system in a remarkably powerful way because they deliver slow-digesting carbohydrates paired with fiber and plant compounds that teach the body to release energy gradually rather than in sudden spikes. This steady supply encourages cells to regain their ability to shift between fuel sources, restoring metabolic adaptability that is essential for endurance and recovery. Clinical research has shown that diets rich in legumes improve markers of metabolic health, including better glucose regulation, improved lipid oxidation, and enhanced mitochondrial efficiency, all of which translate into more reliable energy for muscle activity. Instead of overwhelming the body with rapid glucose surges that demand emergency insulin responses, lentils create a calm metabolic rhythm, allowing muscles to access fuel consistently during both rest and movement. This matters profoundly after 60 because muscle tissue requires sustained energy not only to perform, but to repair itself after even mild physical activity like walking or climbing stairs. When energy delivery is erratic, the body interprets that instability as stress and shifts toward preservation rather than rebuilding, slowing protein synthesis and weakening functional capacity. By stabilizing this internal environment, lentils help move the body out of survival mode and back into renewal mode, where nutrients are efficiently used, inflammation is moderated, and muscles once again respond to daily activity as a signal to grow stronger. Over time, this restoration of flexibility can improve stamina, reduce metabolic strain, and make exercise feel less exhausting and more rewarding, reinforcing healthy movement patterns that protect independence later in life. According to the research-driven perspective of Dr. William W. Lee, foods that support the body's natural adaptive systems are not just sources of nourishment, but biological tools that help reawaken processes essential for resilience and longevity. In this sense, lentils are doing far more than filling a plate. They are quietly retraining your metabolism to become responsive again, giving aging muscles the steady, adaptable energy they need to function, repair, and endure, proving that lasting strength is not built on extremes, but on restoring the body's forgotten ability to adapt.